I have a timer with me, so I'm mindful and respectful with your time. Timer is running. So, yeah, you can get German out of Germany. Thank you so much for this honorable slot here at the end of this event. And we have talked a lot about AI in the last couple of days, and I'm here to take some fear of you. My talk is titled "The Counter AI Business Strategy: Build Human Connections." But before we dive into that, I'm introducing myself with my wedding picture here. No worries, this is not my wedding picture. Actually, the head of the back of this head here, this is Nivit, who you have heard through the Zoom call the other day, because this is what looks like a wedding, actually is the speaker's dinner at Nomad Summit. So what you see here is, and that's why it's also part of my introduction, you see me in a happy place because I'm with very interesting people in a nice location with food. I'm a foodie, and this is something that we've tried this year for the first time in this concept, and it's really nice to have the speakers dinner before the event starts, because that makes sure that the speakers get to know each other, can talk with the ones before and the ones after, and maybe do some cross-references to the speakers that are before and after them. And it just happened that I was wearing the black jacket, and Alexandra, my co-founder, was wearing the white dress, and then when the photographers later gave us the sets, was like, here are your wedding pictures. Like, because it somehow looks like that. Yeah, so this is part of my introduction. I love to be in nice places with good people and good food, but also I'm a sailor. So I'm a true traveler, fully location independent, perpetual traveler since 2017. That's when I left my home country, which doesn't feel home anymore as of today. When people now ask me, where do you live? Then I say, this week, Jungli. So, but I also love to be out at sea, because freedom is the true main driver in my life. And if you want to travel in a very independent, sustainable way, every continent has sea access. Wind is being given by the nature. Modern sailboats have solar panels and a water maker on board. If you have a fishing rod, then you basically fully self-sustain and only need to hit shore for the luxury. So that's a little bit about me, but what I want to talk about with you, and where I want to grab you now, is with something that maybe one or two of you can relate to, the anxiety. Last year I had a girlfriend who more than one time woke up in the middle of the night with an anxiety attack. She was like really fully alert and awake, and I woke up as well. I was like, what's going on? What's happening? And she was like, AI is making me obsolete. I won't have a job. The future is so dark. So does someone, can you relate to that? Does it happen to someone of you as well? Oh, there's an arm going up. Okay, okay. Yeah, I mean, there are probably 50 shades of gray, and that was more an extreme form. But definitely these conversations about AI making us all obsolete is a thing. But what's also a thing is a counter trend. So in times where more and more people spend more and more time in front of screens interacting with machines, a big counter trend is human connection. I mean, look at you guys. You're all here in this room, not just for the entertainment and the content, but for the human connections that are happening here. And with that, I want to give you a look into our brains as the Nomad Summit owners, and tell you a little bit why we are doing what we're doing, and give some inspiration to you that you maybe can take into your own businesses as well. And yeah, that's what we're doing, connecting to build. And is Aniket still here? Okay, then someone else maybe needs to explain. Have you all heard of the 6 degrees of separation? Yeah. I think Aniket would be the best one to quickly explain that in one sentence. Any other volunteer here? Oh, there's an arm up there. Yeah, shout it. What's... Yeah, it's a theory that scientists came up with, like, I think a decade or two ago, that tells that every human on this planet is connected with any other human on this planet by maximum 6 degrees. Now, if you imagine our planet Earth with all people around that, how does it work? How can you connect by 6 degrees, especially as humans tend to cluster? We live in villages, we live in communities, and that means especially people that are very much put in one place, live in their village. I grew up in a little village with 300 people. I knew everyone, everyone knew me, and that meant every of my connection was connected with all the others as well. So the 6 degrees were basically within our community. How could I be connected to humans on the other side of this planet? And that happens through shortcuts. That means if only one person in my village has traveled to another continent, that unlocks a connection in this other community. Right. And that is what we're building with Nomad Summit. We want to have, and this is like 250 people this year at the Nomad Summit, from, for sure, all inhabited, permanently inhabited continents. I didn't count the countries, but every single person that you meet here is a shortcut. And with that, we want to encourage people to travel the world, to build connections, and especially with an entrepreneurial mindset. Every connection into another society, into another culture, is an opportunity. Let that sink in. I sometimes, and if you listen to the Nomad Summit podcast, I'm referring to that way too much, but I had a conversation with a female nomad or an ex-nomad a while ago, where she said, like, this lifestyle is nothing for her. Because she gets so tired whenever she comes to a new place and settles in. For the first days, she's just occupied by finding out how things work here. What's available in the supermarket, how does the garbage collection system work here, before she can actually start to live and work. And I'm like, these observations are actually the reason why I travel. I'm not traveling for a bucket list and seeing some landscapes and landmarks. I travel for people, for culture, and for observing problem solutions from a different angle in another place. And I mean, garbage collection is one of my favorite examples. I grew up in my little village in southwestern Germany, in like a very moderate climate, where the general waste is collected once a week. Every household has a big bin that they need to put out in the street Tuesday evening, because Wednesday morning the garbage collection truck comes and puts them in. And that's how people in this village live. That's what they believe is the reality. And then I went to travel to Portugal in a much warmer climate, where not every house has their garbage bin. There's a central one in the street, and you bring your garbage outside, drop it in the big bin, and that one is emptied every single night. Because it's warm there are rats. If the heat strikes and you have food waste in there, that stinks immediately. If that's not being collected every day, then you have a problem. And if you look at the simple problem of garbage collection that every human society has, and look at how in different countries this problem is being solved, that opens your own mind for inspirations, looking at your normal everyday problems from a very different angle. Like the people in my village, they still believe that's how the world runs. Garbage collection is every Wednesday morning. Don't forget to put the bin out on Tuesday evening. I have seen so many different ways and look at the same problem with different perspectives, and building connections to people and learning from them how they solve problems unlocks a lot of creativity and opportunity in the mind. And yeah, that's what these events are for. Connecting people. Entertainment, education, connection is the magic triangle that every event needs to meet. I guess now at the final evening, all those needs here are pretty much satisfied with everyone, right? Yes. Yeah, let's see where my talk is being put. Is it education or entertainment? I'm being the final clown here on stage tonight, but I hope there are some takeaways for you as well. I'll let you look a little bit behind the curtains and see how things work with building something over time sustainably in the space of human connection. I have three graphs, one after another here. What you see here are 4 social media channels that we've built over time. You clearly see which are the ones that are our priorities. That's obviously Instagram, and here's always January Nomad Summit. So every Nomad Summit puts about 1,000 followers into our Instagram account. We took it over at about 6,000, now we're a bit more than 9. The yellow line is YouTube, not much happening, was none of our priorities. Don't ask me what happened with the Facebook line over there. Also none of our priorities. LinkedIn, very much interesting. The line is much lower, but it has potential. And you also see here, always at the events, how it's going up. And yeah, TikTok is something for the future. We have registered it at one point, but let's see what the future brings. But when you really want to look into how things compound over time, that's our podcast. We have a weekly podcast every Wednesday. We issue an episode with about 30 minutes. There's a full episode with Pavi. And there's also that we recorded in person back in Bangkok in November. And there's a full episode that we recorded with Divi when we launched our new audio brand that he has created earlier this year for us. It was the first episode with all the new background sounds and transitions and stuff. So definitely worth listening. But from a publisher's perspective, I mean, these are the true numbers. There's no sugarcoating or anything. So you see, we are barely now touching 500 IAB listens per month after a full year of every week publishing. But I mean, you see the ups and downs, but you also see the trend line. And maybe by next week we have a bunch more new listeners. But yeah, that's how things work, and that's where we have decided to build Nomad Summit, develop it from an event brand to a media brand. We want to keep people entertained between the events. We want to deliver content that is educational, that is entertaining, and that builds connection through telling the personal stories of our audience. And what you see here is Google displays. So the lower line is Google clicks, and the upper line, that's a bit more interesting. That is what happens if you turn an event website into a website that has content, that has all the podcast episodes with the show notes and blog posts around what's happening, what's the story that's being told in each episode. That's if you record, and that's something that's very important to us. Every talk is recorded by 2 cameras, 2 angles, and then put out on YouTube and into a blog post embedded where the entire topic then lives again. So you see here, we took over the website late 2024. At this point, it was just an event website. That was when people were Googling Nomad Summit, Digital Nomad Event, Digital Nomads Chiang Mai, these kind of things. So we had a peak, and then we were back to close to nothing. But that's where also when we build content over time. And I mean, Google being Google, and especially in times of people more and more using AI search and as Google search, so things going up and down. This year isn't concerning me much, as it's still, there's a trend. It looks like at the moment we're a little bit further down, but you see how it is oscillating. So the trend is there. And yeah, I'm not condemning AI. This picture is AI generated, but not as you think. It is not the picture that was generated by AI, but the seating of the people at the table was AI generated. So even if you are in a business that is the opposite of AI, bringing people together, AI can help you to do that even better. So we tried something for the first time a year ago, and people loved it so much that we did it even more intense this time. With the Nomad Summit, we have, similar like here, the food on premise. Like other nomad events that we talked about, often like in Vietnam, they have their program inside a hotel, and then for the lunch break everyone needs to go out to find something in a restaurant and then come back later. We have intentionally decided to use this opportunity of having people on premise and use the time for connection over lunch. And to enhance that even more, I mean, every one of you probably has been to a conference and then sat down with random people over lunch, and I mean, it's like a lottery. You can sit at a table with really cool people, or you have very boring people, or people with completely opposite interests, and there's no value in that. And so what we did is we sent a vibe form beforehand with very open questions and asked people, what's important to you now? What's your bottleneck? What are you working on this year? What do you want to learn this year? What type of people do you want to meet? And then we fed that to AI, together with instructions about how many tables do we have, how many seats per table, and then got the information back which people are probably the best match for sitting together over lunch. And then we pushed an email to each of them, like, your table number is 4. And yeah, people really love that. So AI used to enhance an event experience. Little side note here as well, because I mean, I want to encourage you all to travel the world, like so many before me, especially go solo traveling, because that exposes you to the local culture much more than if you're in a group or with your spouse, with your partner. If you have no one to talk to with you, you need to talk to people that are there. So these nomad events are beautiful, but don't overdose. Like I personally, I'm a solo traveler, and I try to keep a balance between these beautiful events here and then being all alone again and exploring a country next, because otherwise you can easily lose some opportunities for building shortcuts. It is so easy if you meet cool people at these nomad events then to agree and go on the next trip together. There are some out there that go after the events, travel for weeks and weeks and weeks to other cities and meet for breakfast, lunch and dinner, which can be very interesting if these people are working in a similar field like you and you want to inspire each other over the latest AI hacks and best practices for social media marketing, but you're losing out on the opportunities with connecting with locals. That's where the true value lies and where the true opportunity to compound an asset over time is. And that's your connections. If you build these shortcuts into as many cities as you travel, if you, like, my personal goal always is to stay in a city long enough and build connections good enough that I leave the city with at least 2 or 3 new phone numbers in my address book of people who I can call later when I want to know something about that city, when I want a recommendation, when I have a problem to solve. And sometimes it makes a huge difference. Like this week we had a very interesting problem to solve of a friend trying to bring some nomad stuff from Thailand to Europe. But it didn't work out, so he wanted to bring a suitcase, additional suitcase with our stuff. And he made it to Bangkok with that, and from there it was very unreasonable to bring it to Europe, so we decided to leave it in Bangkok. But so he has left, I'm not there, but over time, together we have built connections to make it happen. So we know who to call, what's the next step to get that stranded luggage from Bangkok to a place where it's at least safe and accessible for us. So yeah, your global relationships become your personal and entrepreneurial capital, and it's not only, it's personal and entrepreneurial. This is not only for economic problems that you want to solve. This is also about culture, food, learning recipes, getting recommendations. And also, especially as a solo traveler going to different countries, you have a privilege of spotting signals early. You're exposing yourself to changes, and there's a whole talk about that. It was actually my favorite talk at this year's Nomad Summit by Quinn Button. It's all up on YouTube. She is a futurist and was giving a talk about how to spot future trends early and then make a business opportunity out of them. So this is just condensed in one slide. It is, if you travel the world and you compare the new place with the last place, if you see how people solve a problem here, maybe a new problem that has occurred where in your last place there is no solution yet, but at the new place they have found a solution. And you look at that solution and think how you can take that solution to a place where there is not yet. So comparing societies, the garbage collection system in different countries helps you to unlock solutions that can maybe elevate your own business to the next level, or find the business partner who brings in this idea and needs your skills. That's my takeaway, and that's my slide for the Q&A. And this is my timer.